What if I told you that right now, as you sit watching this, your local council is quietly collecting hundreds of pounds from you every single year that they have absolutely no legal right to take? And what if the reason they keep collecting it is simply because nobody ever bothered to tell you that you could stop them? Before we go any further, do me a small favor that could genuinely change someone's life today. Tap that like button so this video reaches more people who need it. Hit subscribe so you never miss a money-saving update, and share this with one person over 65 who you think might be paying too much. That one share could save them thousands, and it takes less than 5 seconds of your time. Now let me explain exactly why that opening statement is not an exaggeration, and why this matters more than almost any other financial issue facing older households in Britain right now. Council tax is one of those bills that just arrives every year like clockwork. You open the brown envelope, you glance at the number, you wince a little, and you set up the direct debit. Most people never question it. Most people assume the figure on that piece of paper is fixed, final, and completely non-negotiable. And that quiet assumption is costing the average older homeowner in this country more money than almost any other recurring household expense they face. We are talking about a bill that now regularly exceeds £2,000 a year in many parts of England, Scotland, and Wales. In some areas, it is climbing past 2,500. Over a decade, that is well over £20,000 leaving your bank account. Over 20 years, it is £40,000 or more. Think about what you could do with £40,000. Think about the holidays, the home repairs, the help for your grandchildren, the peace of mind that kind of money could bring you in retirement. And for a significant number of you watching this video right now, a large chunk of that money should never have left your pocket in the first place. Here is the part that makes this entire situation so deeply frustrating when you stop and think about it. The discounts and reductions I am about to walk you through are not secret loopholes hidden in fine print that only experts can decode. They are not gray areas that require expensive legal advice or complicated applications. They are not tricks or hacks that only clever accountants know about. They are clear, established, legally binding entitlements written into the rules that govern council tax across the entire country. The problem is that the system is built in a way that almost guarantees you will never find out about them unless you actively go looking for them yourself. Your council will not send you a friendly letter on your 65th birthday explaining what you are now owed. They will not flag it on your annual bill in bold red print. They will not call you up one Tuesday morning and say, "By the way, we have noticed you have been overpaying for the last 8 years, and we would like to arrange a full refund." That simply does not happen. And the reason it does not happen is brutally straightforward when you understand how local government funding works. Every single pound your council gives back to you in a discount is a pound that disappears from their own budget for the following year. They have no financial incentive whatsoever to help you pay less. In fact, they have every possible incentive to let you keep paying the full amount in complete silence year after year after year. So that is exactly where this video comes in, and why I genuinely believe it is one of the most important things you will watch this entire month. Over the next several minutes, I am going to walk you through every major way that your council tax bill could be significantly reduced, and in some cases eliminated completely. I will explain each one in plain, simple language that anyone can follow, regardless of their background or financial knowledge. I will tell you exactly who qualifies, exactly how much you could save, and exactly what you need to do to make the claim. And I want to make one thing absolutely clear before we get started. These discounts are not just for people on very low incomes. They are not just for people receiving state benefits. Some of the biggest savings on this list go to comfortable homeowners who paid off their mortgage years ago and simply assumed that council tax is an unavoidable cost of owning a property. That assumption is wrong, and it is extremely expensive over the long term. So whether you live in a modest terraced house or a large detached property, whether your pension is small or substantial, please stay with me all the way through, because there is something on this list that applies directly to your specific situation and could put real money back in your pocket starting this month. Let us start with the most common discount of all, and also the one that catches out a truly shocking number of people who should already be receiving it without any difficulty. If you are the only adult living in your property, you are legally entitled to a 25% reduction on your council tax bill. This is called the single-person discount, and it is one of the simplest and most straightforward entitlements in the entire system. There is no income test attached to it. There is no savings test. There is no means assessment of any kind. It does not matter whether you have a generous private pension, a comfortable nest egg in the bank, or a paid-off house worth £500,000. If you are the sole adult occupant of your home, you get 25% off your bill. Full stop. On an average council tax bill of around £2,000, that saving alone is worth approximately £500 every single year, and it continues for as long as your living situation remains unchanged. And yet a huge number of eligible people are simply not receiving it. The reason is almost always the same. Their living situation changed at some point in the past, and they never thought to inform the council about the change. Perhaps a spouse passed away and the household went from 2 adults to 1 overnight. Perhaps a partner moved into residential care and is no longer physically living at the property. Perhaps an adult child who was living at home finally moved out to start their own independent life in another city. In each of those cases, the household quietly shifted from 2 adults to 1, but the council tax bill stayed exactly the same because nobody picked up the phone to make a simple update. Do not assume the council already knows about your change in circumstances. They do not. If that sounds like your current situation, you could be handing over hundreds of pounds a year that you genuinely do not owe. The fix takes one short phone call to your local council, and the discount can often be backdated to the exact point when your circumstances changed, meaning you could receive a lump sum refund as well as permanently lower bills going forward. Now I want to move to the second discount, and this is the one that I believe is missed more than any other in the entire country. It is also the one that carries the heaviest emotional weight, so I want to handle it with the care and respect it truly deserves. It is officially known as the severe mental impairment disregard, and it applies to anyone living with a condition that has a serious and permanent impact on their cognitive function and intellectual ability. In practical terms, that means dementia, Alzheimer's disease, and the lasting neurological consequences of a severe stroke. The way the rule works is both simple and genuinely remarkable. If someone in your household has been medically diagnosed with one of these qualifying conditions, the council can effectively treat that person as though they do not live in the property at all, for the purpose of calculating your tax bill. So if you are a married couple and one of you has received a formal dementia diagnosis, your household is immediately reclassified as a single adult home, which triggers that 25% discount we just discussed in detail. And if the person with the condition lives entirely on their own with no other adults in the property, the council tax bill can be reduced to absolutely zero, the entire annual amount wiped clean. All that is required to activate this discount is a medical certificate from a doctor confirming the diagnosis, and here is a critical detail that many people do not know. Your doctor is not legally permitted to charge you for producing that certificate. It must be provided completely free of charge as part of their NHS obligation. I want to pause here for a moment because the human side of this discount matters just as much as the financial side, and I think it deserves to be acknowledged properly and honestly. Think about what daily life actually looks like for a couple where one partner is slowly and painfully fading into dementia. The well partner is carrying an enormous and often completely invisible burden that few outsiders truly understand. They are managing endless medical appointments, handling daily personal care, dealing with confusion and distress, and navigating the emotional devastation of watching someone they have deeply loved for decades gradually disappear while still sitting in the same room across the breakfast table. The very last thing on their mind is a council tax bill. And yet, during some of the hardest and most exhausting years of their entire lives, they could be paying hundreds of pounds more than they need to, simply because nobody ever connected the medical diagnosis to the household finances. I have heard truly heartbreaking stories of families who only discovered this discount after their loved one had already passed away, and who realized with enormous sadness that they could have eased their financial pressure during those difficult years if only someone had taken the time to tell them it existed. If there is dementia, Alzheimer's, or a similar cognitive condition anywhere in your household, please do not let this information pass you by. That single phone call to your local council could take a genuine and meaningful weight off shoulders that are already carrying far too much. If you are finding this information valuable and you want to make sure you do not miss the rest of what is coming, here is a quick challenge for you. Before this video ends, I want you to pick up your phone and text this link to just one person, not 10 people, not your entire contact list. Just one person who you know is over 65 and living on a fixed income. That one text could be the single most financially valuable message they receive all year. And while you have your phone in your hand, tap that subscribe button and the notification bell so you are the very first to know when I release the next video in this series. Now let us turn to the third discount, and this is the one that has the extraordinary power to take your council tax bill all the way down to zero for those who qualify. It is called council tax reduction, and it is closely linked to a benefit that far more people are eligible for than they currently realize. That benefit is pension credit. If you receive the guarantee element of pension credit, your local council is required, in most cases, to reduce your council tax bill to absolutely nothing. The entire annual amount disappears from your household expenses. And here is where the system starts to stack in your favor in a really powerful and almost elegant way. If you live alone and you qualify for pension credit, you can combine the full council tax reduction with the 25% single-person discount we discussed earlier in this video. The result is a bill that started at over £2,000 a year, dropping to absolute zero. Two separate entitlements working together in perfect combination to completely eliminate one of your biggest recurring household expenses. Now, I know that some of you will be thinking that pension credit is only for people on the very lowest incomes, and that is a widespread misconception that I want to challenge directly and firmly. The income threshold for pension credit is considerably higher than most people assume, and it rises even further if you receive any form of disability benefit such as attendance allowance, if you have certain housing costs like service charges, or if you are responsible for caring for someone else in your home. So before you dismiss this option out of hand, it is genuinely worth checking your eligibility properly through the government website or by calling the pension credit helpline directly, rather than ruling yourself out based on a rough guess. The same single application that tops up your weekly income can simultaneously erase your council tax bill entirely, which makes it one of the most powerful and most underused financial moves available to older households anywhere in the country. The fourth discount I want to cover is aimed specifically at households where someone is living with a physical disability, and it is one that gets far less public attention than it truly deserves, given the number of families it could help. It is called the disabled band reduction, and the principle behind it is refreshingly straightforward. If your home has been modified or adapted in specific ways to meet the daily needs of a disabled resident, the council is legally required to charge you as though your property sits in the valuation band below its actual official classification. So if your home is currently in Band D, you would be charged the lower Band C rate instead. That might sound like a relatively small adjustment on paper, but in real terms it typically saves several £100s every single year, and those savings continue automatically for as long as the adaptation remains in place. The kinds of home modifications that qualify include things like an additional bathroom or wet room installed specifically for a disabled person, a ground floor room that has been set aside primarily for their care and therapy, or sufficient indoor floor space to allow the regular and necessary use of a wheelchair throughout the home. And here is a detail that catches many families completely off guard when they first learn about it. The disabled person does not have to be the one whose name appears on the council tax bill. They can be any member of the household, including an adult child or a grandchild who lives with you and depends on those physical adaptations to manage their daily life. This is particularly relevant for adult children who have moved back in with an elderly parent to provide full-time care. As with all the other discounts on this list, the reduction is never applied automatically by the council. You need to make contact, explain the specific adaptations that have been made to the property, and formally request the reassessment. But once it is approved and in place, the savings roll forward year after year without any further action required on your part. Now we arrive at the fifth and final main point, and I genuinely believe this is the one that is silently costing older homeowners more money than anything else on this entire list combined. It is not technically a discount at all. It is the very real and surprisingly common possibility that your home has been placed in the wrong council tax band and has been sitting there for decades without anyone ever noticing the error. To understand why this happens, you need to know a little bit of background history. The council tax bands that we all still use today were originally created back in 1991. At that time, millions of properties across the country had to be valued and sorted into their appropriate bands in an extremely short period of just a few months. The entire process was rushed and under-resourced. In many well-documented cases, valuers did little more than drive slowly past a property and make a quick visual judgment based on its external appearance from the street. There was no detailed interior inspection, There was no careful comparison with neighboring homes of similar size, age, and construction. The inevitable result was that enormous numbers of properties were placed in the wrong band from the very first day the system launched, and because almost nobody has thought to check since then, those original errors have simply persisted for over 30 years. If your home is sitting in a higher band than identical or very similar properties on your own street, you have been quietly overpaying every single year, possibly for the entire time you have owned the property. The fix is remarkably simple and costs you absolutely nothing. You can look up your council tax band online through the government valuation website and compare it with the bands assigned to similar homes in your immediate neighborhood. If yours looks higher than it reasonably should be, you can submit a formal challenge to the valuation office agency. There is no fee involved. You do not need a solicitor, a surveyor, or any kind of professional advisor. And if your challenge is successful, two very significant things happen. Your bill drops permanently going forward, and you can often receive a substantial refund for the historical overpayment stretching back many years. We are talking about potential refunds worth several £1,000s landing in your bank account as a single lump sum payment, simply because you took 10 minutes to check something that most people never think to question. The people most affected by this particular problem are the ones who have lived in the same home the longest, which very often means older homeowners who have been quietly overpaying since the bands were first drawn up in the early 90s. If you are still watching and you have made it this far into the video, I want to try something a little different with you. I want you to close your eyes for just a second and imagine your future self 5 years from now. That version of you will either be genuinely glad you took action on what you learned today, or deeply frustrated that you let another 5 years of unnecessary overpayments slip quietly by without doing anything about it. If you want to be the first version, do this one simple thing right now. Pause the video, grab a pen, and write down the word council on a piece of paper and stick it somewhere you will see it every morning. That is your personal reminder to make the call this week before life gets busy and you forget all about it. And if this video has already opened your eyes to money you did not know you were owed, consider leaving a comment below telling me which discount on the list surprised you the most. Your comment genuinely helps this video reach more people who are sitting in exactly the same position you were in just 10 minutes ago. Before I wrap everything up, I want to share a few additional moves that do not get nearly enough public attention, but can be genuinely significant for the right household. The first involves unpaid carers. If you provide at least 35 hours of care per week to someone living in your home who is not your spouse or partner, you may be eligible to be disregarded for council tax purposes in much the same way as someone with a severe mental impairment. That disregard can trigger the single-person discount even if there are technically two adults living in the property. The second is known as the second adult rebate. If you share your home with another adult who is not your partner and who has a very low income, you may qualify for a reduction of up to 25% based entirely on their financial circumstances, even if your own income is too high for the standard council tax reduction scheme. The third is one that matters enormously during a deeply painful and often chaotic time in a family's life. If you or a close family member moves permanently into a care home or a long-stay hospital, the property you leave behind may become entirely exempt from council tax for as long as no other adult moves in to occupy it. It is genuinely heartbreaking how many grieving families continue paying a full council tax bill on an empty home for months or even years after a loved one has moved into residential care, simply because nobody in the system thought to inform them that the payments should have stopped the moment the property became vacant. Running underneath all of these individual discounts and exemptions is one overarching fact that I want to make sure you fully absorb before we finish today. Most local councils have the legal ability and indeed the obligation to backdate a discount once you successfully claim it. In some cases, that backdating covers several months. In the case of a banding error, it can stretch back many years, sometimes all the way to when the bands were first established in 1991. This means that every single week you delay taking action is potentially a week of refund money that slips a little further out of your reach. Remember, the council will not do this for you. You have to be the one to start the conversation. This is not a task for someday when you have more free time. It is a task for this week. The process is far simpler and far less intimidating than most people imagine it to be. Take 10 quiet minutes with a cup of tea to run through the list against your own personal circumstances. Are you the only adult currently living in your home? Does anyone you live with have a formal diagnosis of dementia or another qualifying cognitive condition? Could you possibly be eligible for pension credit based on your total weekly income? Has your home been physically adapted to accommodate a disability? Does your council tax band actually match the properties on either side of you? If the answer to any single one of those questions is yes, or even maybe, your next step is exactly the same. Contact your local council. Tell them which discount you believe applies to your situation. Ask them to assess your eligibility and to backdate the reduction as far as the rules will allow. If the paperwork feels overwhelming or confusing, you absolutely do not have to tackle it alone. Organizations like Age UK and Citizens Advice offer free, patient, and genuinely compassionate support, and they will walk you through every single step of the process at your own pace. A family member can sit beside you and make the call on your behalf if that feels easier and less stressful for everyone involved. Let me bring everything together now with the thought I want to leave you with long after this video ends and you have moved on with your day. The council tax system in this country is not designed to be deliberately cruel, but it is designed to be entirely passive. It waits for you to act. It does not reach out to you. It does not send you friendly reminders. It does not check whether your personal circumstances have changed since the last time you contacted them years ago. It simply generates the same bill year after year and collects the same amount of money from your bank account until you are the one who finally picks up the phone and says, I think I am legally owed a reduction. The people who benefit from these discounts are not luckier than you. They are not smarter than you. They are not wealthier than you. They simply knew that the discounts existed, and they took the small amount of time and effort required to claim what was rightfully theirs all along. That is the only difference between the household that pays £2,000 a year and the household that pays nothing at all. Knowledge and action, that is the entire equation. So please do not be the household that quietly hands over hundreds of pounds every single year to a system that was never legally entitled to collect that money in the first place. Run through the list one more time. Pick the one that fits your life. Make the call this week. And if there is someone in your life who is living alone, caring for a partner with dementia, or who has recently lost their spouse, please send them this video today. You might be the only person who ever tells them that this money is sitting there waiting for them with their name on it. And that one simple conversation could make their daily life just a little bit easier at a time when they need it more than they will ever openly admit. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you for staying right to the very end. And I will see you in the next video where we will uncover even more of the hidden rules that quietly affect your money every single day of your life. Do not let another year go by paying more than you owe. The money is yours. Go and claim it.